Hey guys, how you doing? So here's what went down at the Metal Gear Solid Delta event in New York. Gaming journalists and fans got their hands on the remake, or the demo rather, and honestly their reactions tell us everything we need to know about what Konami is cooking up. The journalist who got to play it came away pretty impressed. They're saying the new controls and camera angle make Delta feel like a different but familiar game. Snake moves with more weight now, more methodical through the battlefield, which actually sounds like it could make stealth feel even better, especially for a modernised remake. What caught their attention was all the customization stuff from the previous. You can mess with colour filters to make it look like the original with a classic colour filter, or switch it to something called Action Movie Mode. Plus you can swap camera angles, different masks and uniforms, and basically a bunch of ways to make each playthrough feel unique. Cinematic intro is way different than before. Cynthia Harrell has reprised her role and come back again to record a new take. And the journalist said it was as great as ever, but of course I'm sure if you're on PC, if it's not to your taste, you can always remodify it. They got their time cut short right at the Ocelot unit fight when somebody turned the lights on, but their takeaway was clear that it was meant to be a very faithful remake of MGS 3, which is great news, but with enhancements to the gameplay that better the experience for all players, as they say. They were noted saying that they think some of the purists might find some stuff to complain about because, well, it's not exactly the original and the originals always do it the best, but for people wanting to relive MGS3 with better visuals or newcomers who've never played the 2004 original, it's a must play apparently. So I posted a post about a day ago about the event that happened in New York in the Lightbox. Fortunately, a lot of us couldn't go, but one guy who commented on my channel called GodJinx had a completely different vibe going in. He hit up a later time slot after work, and my setup was pretty cool, he explains. Walking in, there's this area where you can buy merch, then there's a waiting area with a flower bed in the centre. Basically, it's the lilies in the final boss mission in MGS3 when you face the legendary boss, or the Joy. The walls have projections from the same mission in Delta, which is a nice touch. And when his group got called, they walked into a room packed with PCs and PS5s, all loaded up with a game. He got to play until the end of the Virtuous mission, though he only made it to the Ocelot cutscene before the time was up, as the journalist explained prior. Right off the bat, the game asks if you played older Metal Gear Solid games like the original, where you could select from the original Metal Gear Solid 1 to MGS2 and so forth. But in the remake, it's including number 4 and 5. GodJinx picked up that he played all of them, and apparently the guy next to him chose MGS2 and could see the Raiden Easter egg still in there, meaning that the Rykov mask is still present in the cutscenes. He went with a new control scheme to see how it felt, of course, by picking the new style rather than Legacy. The intro cutscene still has the original credits, and he was blown away by how good the characters look in high fidelity. Which, to be fair, given all what we've seen on the trailers, they've done a decent job in making the characters look as very accurate as possible from the original. GodJinx explains once he got into the gameplay, even with the new over-the-shoulder MGS5 style controls, everything felt very familiar. The graphics were honestly impressive and ran smooth, he says. He wasn't aware of the specs of the PC or the monitor, but he's hoping that the community who experience Metal Gear will be able to experience this in a good form of optimization like MGS5 on PC, considering that some games don't really necessarily run well on PC compared to the console. But he can confirm the game was launched through a Steam client. One thing that stood out to GodJinx was how Snake's clothing gets affected by the environment, as showcased in the earlier trailers. Going through the jungle and past those alligators, Snake gets incredibly muddy, and it shows up as well in the cutscenes, which to be fair is a nice addition to add towards the realism of a game that already stood out for its time. I mean, as well detailed as the outfits were on the original, they didn't carry over any of the environmental properties into the cutscenes. Godjinx mentions as well that he could change his camo and had the unlocks available as he was wearing the Peace Walker sneaking suit for half of his playthrough, meaning that at this demo, Konami was allowing the users to play the digital deluxe edition. So for those who might be unfamiliar, why in one of the trailers it appears that Snake can just go past the guard without making any noise is because that outfit was especially made in order to actually cancel out any footsteps, so it's not breaking any immersion, that's just a speciality of the outfit. I mean, yes, I guess there's those who think that it breaks the immersion, but honestly, you don't have to play with the outfits if it bothers you that much. Godjinx also further explained the tranquilizer pistol, the Mark 22, was way better to use. You can actually see the projectile, and there's more of a drop-off than he remembered from the original game, where the bullets were more direct. You can actually see the dart leave the gun, and it has more of a drop. He reckons everything played out just like normal, up until the Ocelot cutscene where ultimately the demo ended. And his final verdict along with other journalists is that overall it seems very faithful, and it's fair to say that it's playing safe, as a remake can possibly be to honour the original. And apparently Kojima's name is still credited at the start, which is nice to know that Konami are honouring the legend behind what made Metal Gear possible to begin with. One of the journalists also mentioned as well, playing on the PlayStation 5 Pro, the new scheme uses L2 to aim, the third person view with the aiming reticle, but you can swap to first person as well, and R2 to shoot or attack, which usually is kind of universal for most modern games these days, and left and right on the D-pad for items and weapons respectively, very similar to MGS 5, and the right analog stick to scroll through the options. Snake can actually now crouch with the circle button, something that you could do on the 3DS version, and it's very similar to the Peace Walker movement. You can now also roll with triangle, reload with square, and interact with the X button. Holding down L1 will make Snake walk very slowly and stealthily to sneak up behind foes, rather than lightly using the stick to move. And R1 switches Snake into first person view, just like the original. The good news is that apparently the enemy guards are very reminiscent to those in Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain, and they are a lot more lethal and responsive when it comes to combat now as well. The CQC attacks have been vastly improved on with new animations, as you've probably seen in the trailers, and all of these attacks can be done with one tap of the R2 button or holding it, etc. for when you're using it in interrogation. Metal Gear Network, or for short MGN on Twitter or X, graced me with time to interact with the Metal Gear community who attended the presentation at New York. And after having an in-depth discussion with the brilliant fans of the series in this chat, as well as newcomers who were curious, reported a few interesting additional details. Being a part of the discussion, overall there was nothing but positive feedback when it counted. The enemy AI is responsive and sharp in both caution and alert modes. Plus the carrots and frogs, when collected, show up on the interface screen to show how many you have collected this time. Everything is retained about the original, but plays more like a typical remake, and it's reported that Snake has more weight in his movements to compensate for the shorter linear map that we're used to in the original, a bit like Resident Evil's remakes. So Metal Gear Solid Delta, or rather MGS3 Remake, is just around the corner and is available in Standard Edition on the 28th of August and on the 26th of August if you buy the digital deluxe edition. But if any of you guys are based in Europe, go on cdkeys.com, you can get the game for half the price. And believe me, it's all legit, it's official, you type the code up on Steam and you get to play the game. But sadly it's not available for all regions, so if you're from Europe, snap it up whilst you can. Anyway guys, I just want to thank you ever so much for watching. If you can, please like and subscribe, and hit the notification bells on if you want to see more Metal Gear Solid content. Thanking you once again, Godjinx, for all your useful intel out there in the field. Nice one for doing that. And anyway guys, until we meet again, see you later.